really think I was gonna do my boy dirty like that? Did you really think I was only gonna upload a Batman video the day before Batman Day? No! I'm going to have one on Batman Day. I'm going to rank every single Batman movie there's been since 1966. I'm not counting the movie if Batman is not in the title. Movies like Justice League Doom, even though it's mostly a Batman movie, not going to be on the list. Batman's not in the title, so I'm not including it in this list. And I am not including the serials either. Those are the only movies with Batman in the title that won't be here because they are like 5 hours long and from the 40s. So, yeah, I'm not going to watch those. I might watch them someday. I don't really know if you need to see them to be a true Batman fan, but if you do, let me know and I'll watch them and maybe make a video on them, because I'm not going to watch 5 hours worth of 40s content and not get some content of my own out of it. But let's get into this list. Batman 66, baby. I'm putting in the B tier. You know, it obviously isn't a movie that, like, technically holds up, but it is still a fun watch, and just the 66 show overall is a fun watch. You know, Adam West is entirely his own iteration of Batman, and it's part of the reason that Batman catapulted into the stratosphere like he did, but also some iconic scenes, like Some Days You Can't Get Rid of the Bomb. Just the camp is so fun, and it's so over the top. It's just, it's an easy watch. It's not that long of a movie. It's a pretty fun time. But what really catapulted Batman into the stratosphere is Batman 89. I'm putting it in the A tier. I still adore this movie. Jack Nicholson as the Joker was really perfect casting, let's be honest. And Michael Keaton as Batman, it was casting that got questioned at the time, but I think that he proved everyone wrong. Michael Keaton is great as Batman, and to date, he's probably still my favorite live-action Batman. And I should say, I've talked about all these movies in the past, so I'm not going to go over them for too long. Batman Returns, I'm putting it right there with Batman 89 in the A tier. Look, Batman 89 is definitely the more Batman movie, and Returns is the more Burton movie, but I love both Batman and Burton, so combining the two was just a win both times for me. I think both these movies are phenomenal, and they're pretty on level with one another. I'm not going to say you're wrong if you say Batman 89 is better than Returns, and I'm not going to say you're wrong if you say Returns is better than Batman 89. I think all three villains that were featured in the movies are terrific. Joker in 89 and Penguin and Catwoman in Batman Returns. I think Michelle Pfeiffer is still my favorite Batman villain performance next to Heath Ledger's Joker. So yeah, and Batman Returns is set at Christmas time. I get to watch it every Christmas, and I think it is the best DC Christmas movie that there is. Mask of the Phantasm. Putting in the S tier, baby. It is a 5-star classic for me. 10 out of 10. Recommend. It's a highly emotional film, and I have an entire video talking about it in depth. Batman Forever. Oh, I'm putting it in the F tier. I don't like this movie at all. It is in need of a rewatch, I won't lie. The last time I watched it was for its 25th anniversary, which we have a commentary of, so you can go check that one out if you want to hear our full thoughts on this movie. Batman and Robin, look, I've said it's better than Batman Forever in the past, but honestly, it's not really. I just prefer to watch it because I personally get more fun out of watching Batman and Robin than I do Batman Forever. Sub-Zero. I'm also putting this in the A tier right here with Batman 89, Batman Returns. It is a terrific film. I think the animation is actually better in this movie than it is in Mask of the Phantasm, which is a little odd, seeing as Mask of the Phantasm was the one that came out in theaters, but Mask of the Phantasm wasn't originally supposed to come out in theaters. It was just that damn good that it got a theatrical run, like a week. It was a pretty short run. It didn't make that much money, sadly. But yeah, the animation in Sub-Zero is beautiful. Another movie I have an entire video on. So, you know, if you want to hear more of my in-detail thoughts on it, go check that out. I've said Mr. Freeze in the animated series is terrific, and he absolutely is. It's the show that reinvented the character and really launched him from like a D to C lister to an A list villain. And Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker. Sadly, I still have not made a video entirely about this movie. We do have a podcast episode talking about it for its 20th anniversary all the way back in 2020, but I really do need to review this movie in depth and give it its own video, but I just feel like it's a movie I cannot do justice to. The flashback scene alone, probably my favorite Batman scene ever. I have a lot of nostalgia for the film, so it's going in the S tier. And Batman Mystery of the Batwoman, I'm putting it here in the C tier. There's nothing painfully bad about it, but there's nothing that special about it either. And Batman Begins, another one going in the S tier. I love me some Batman Begins, and it was a great start to that trilogy of movies. I actually think the Bruce Wayne stuff is more interesting than the Batman stuff, which is, it's kind of hard to do when Batman's your favorite character, and it wasn't a movie where you were just waiting to see Batman, because all the Bruce Wayne stuff was extremely interesting and investing, in my opinion. The Batman vs. Dracula. Spooky season is right around the corner. Well, honestly, it's already here. You know, spooky season kind of starts in September. You know, there's nothing before Halloween right now. So, you know, spooky season has kicked off. Fall's about to be here. I'm gonna rewatch this movie. It's one I rewatch every year, and I really need to talk about it around Halloween this year. Hopefully, I have the time to actually do that, because this video I actually want to, you know, take the time to edit and everything, but copyright is a pain in the ass. That's why I've been doing so much tier lists lately. But the Batman vs. Dracula is terrific. It's a fun watch, and as I've said in the past, it's just really more of what you get from the show. And it's a little bit of a darker tone than what you get in a lot of episodes of the show. But if you like the show, you'll like this movie. And if you like this movie, I think you'll like the show. It's a really good showcase of what the show has to offer. Batman Gotham Knights, I'm putting in the C tier. There's some stories I really like. Some stories are just very middling to, like, not that interesting. Some stories are better than the others. And that's a good thing about this movie and a bad thing. It is a set of 6 different Batman stories, and some of them are just more entertaining and interesting than the others are. The Dark Knight. Okay, I did it with ranking every DC movie ever. I'm gonna do it here again. The Dark Knight is just its own animal, man. It's the GOAT. It's the GOAT DC movie. It's the GOAT Batman movie. It's just the GOAT movie for me. It is going up here in its own tier. It is GOAT status. Heath Ledger as the Joker. Probably my favorite performance in any movie ever. And anything ever. Movie, television, games, you name it. Heath Ledger's Joker, probably never going to be topped. And for anyone that says that this movie wouldn't be good without the Joker, of fucking course it wouldn't. What the fuck are you even saying? The Joker is the plot. Without him, there is no movie. That is the point of the film. That's like saying Thanos in Infinity War. Infinity War wouldn't be good without Thanos. Oh, really? Nah, shit. It's almost like the movie wouldn't happen without Thanos. It's almost like a comic book movie can't happen without a main antagonist. What are you even saying when you say that? It makes no fucking sense. Like, I don't know. People that say that, I don't feel like they've watched the movie. The Dark Knight is clearly written around the character of the Joker, and it's for a reason. It's not just because Heath Ledger's performance is absolutely phenomenal. It's because of what the Joker means to Batman. He is the ultimate Batman villain. He is the antithesis of Batman. There's a reason the movie is written around the guy. There's a reason the Joker is the Batman villain. Anyway, moving on. Public Enemies. I'm putting in the B tier. It's a pretty good movie. Batman and Superman's dynamic is fun, and it's awesome to see. Batman Under the Red Hood, going in the S tier. Speaking of the Joker, John DiMaggio as the Joker. One of the best Jokers there's ever been. I wish we would get him back for something that is not a death in the family. You notice how that's not a part of this list, because it's not a fucking movie. That's why a death in the family is not on this list. It's just a worse version of Under the Red Hood that's an interactive movie for some reason. Just make it a game if you're going to make it interactive. I don't want to watch a movie where I get to make the decision. I'm watching a movie for the plot that you give me. Write an actual focused story, why don't you? Anyway, Under the Red Hood, though, is a very focused story, and it is terrific. It's very heartfelt. Batman and Nightwing's dynamic in it is great. Batman and Jason's dynamic in it is great, although that dynamic opposed to Batman and Dick is more bludgeoned, and there's not as much trust there because, of course, Jason died. But John DiMaggio is like the sleaziest Joker ever. Him and Heath Ledger are both pretty sleazy Jokers, let's be honest. But, you know, Mark Hamill is like that more classic Joker. And these two are just like sleazes, absolute scumbags. And it's phenomenal. John DiMaggio gives like the performance of his life as the Joker. And it's probably maybe a top 4 Joker performance for me. He's probably my third favorite Joker actor after Mark Hamill and after Heath Ledger. He's awesome. Bruce Greenwood's probably my second favorite Batman after Kevin Conroy. But yeah, this is another movie I've made a video of, so. Apocalypse. Superman, Batman, Apocalypse. Going in the C tier. I just don't love Darkseid in this. Him and Batman have a pretty good back and forth, but that's really the only scene I love Darkseid in. And that's a big thing for me. Like, when you don't write Darkseid good, I just don't love it. Like, if Darkseid's the main villain, you got to write him right. And Batman Year One, A tier, baby. I said earlier this year, in probably a few different videos, I had a complete 180 with this film. I slept on it for a long time. I watched it when it first released. I didn't love it. I was 11 when it first released. Watching it as an adult, I love the movie. It's incredible. It's a quick watch. It's only an hour long. Gordon is kind of the main character opposed to Batman, but it is Batman Year One. It's Batman just starting out, so it kind of makes sense that Gordon is the main character. Gordon has been a cop in Gotham for a little bit. He's the more developed character in this movie because you're still developing Batman, and just to see that Batman-Gordon relationship form, it is incredible to see, and just narratively, it's very focused. It goes by pretty quick. There's not a ton of action. There are a few action scenes, and those are very entertaining for what they are, but like the movie isn't about the action, it's about the story, and the story is very good. The Dark Knight Rises is going in the B tier. It's a good movie. I think it would have benefited from being a little shorter. Who knows what this movie would have been if Heath Ledger never passed, because I've heard so many things about the Joker was originally supposed to be in The Dark Knight Rises, and I think it would have been very interesting to see how he was incorporated into the movie. But Tom Hardy as Bane, for what it's worth, he is an incredible villain. I love Bane in this movie, up until they kill him. They kill him in the stupidest way ever. But before that, Bane is a pretty good villain. You know, the voice is the funnest voice to do. I am Gotham's Reckoning. I can't do it properly. I can't do it like Tom Hardy can, but, you know, not many people can do it like Tom Hardy can. There's a reason that Tom Hardy is Tom Hardy. Batman, The Dark Knight Returns, another one going in the S tier. Now, I'm afraid that there probably won't be many S tier movies after this point, because this is kind of where DC animation stepped out of its prime. Like, 2013 was really the last year DC animation was like hitting banger after banger, and there are still some, well, I say some live action Batman movies that are good, but there's only 2 more left, and I only like one of them, so that's a lie. It's a lie. But no, The Dark Knight Returns is phenomenal. And I've heard, I had never read the comic of The Dark Knight Returns, but I've heard it's a pretty faithful adaptation, and it's one of the most iconic Batman stories ever told, so just it being so good on screen, I take that as it being very respectful to source material and respectful to that story. They took a lot of care in making this animated movie. Lego Batman DC Superheroes Unite. Going in the C tier, it's just a bunch of cutscenes from Lego Batman 2 and a few added scenes to make the story flow a little better for where there usually would be gameplay. So, if you like the story of Lego Batman 2, you're going to like this movie. Son of Batman, but it's nothing special, because if you played the game, you know the story, so I recommend just playing the game. Son of Batman, going in the C tier. This is honestly pretty close to being in this D tier. This D tier is very empty right now, and it kind of feels weird, but I guess I just don't think many Batman movies are in the... You know what? Fuck it, guys. I'm moving Batman and Robin up to the D tier, because... You know what? I'll move Batman Forever up here, because I'll just go ahead and get out of the way. The Batman Unlimited films are going in the F tier. All of them. Fuck those movies, okay? I don't like them at all. They're not entertaining whatsoever. The dialogue in them sucks. The characters have no character. I'd rather rewatch the Schumacher films any day. Son of Batman, I just hate how they disrespect Deathstroke. Everything else in the movie is alright. Batman Assault on Arkham. Putting in the B tier. I like it a pretty decent bit. Look, a lot of people say, oh, you call it Batman Assault on Arkham, but it's just a Suicide Squad movie. I mean, yeah, I guess that's fair enough, but I think Batman's in the film enough to warrant calling it a Batman movie. Like, it does feature a lot of Batman villains. Joker is the main villain of this movie. Harley Quinn is a huge part of the Suicide Squad. And in the Arkham games, in Arkham Origins, Deadshot is one of the assassins sent after Batman. So I think calling it Assault on Arkham, it being connected to the Arkham games, is fair enough. I don't love when they showcase all the Arkham villains that all of them are pretty disposable. They're just kind of there to be there because, like, oh, it's connected to the Arkham games. We got to show you all these villains with the designs of the Arkham games, so you know that it's connected to the Arkham games. That was not needed. I like the incorporation of the Riddler. The Joker and Riddler are both in this movie. They're my two favorite Batman villains, so there's a lot to like there. I think Kevin Conroy as Batman, he's always phenomenal, but I think Batman is in this movie enough to warrant putting Batman in the title. Batman vs. Robin. I'm also putting in the B tier. It's by far my favorite Batman movie in the DC animated movie universe. I like it much more than Hush, much more than Son of Batman, and much more than Batman vs. Robin. This is Batman vs. Robin. Batman Bad Blood. The next movie. Put in the C tier. I probably prefer it over Batman, or Son of Batman, honestly. Just because, like I said, they disrespect my boy Deathstroke in Son of Batman, and I absolutely hate that about the film. And Batman Bad Blood, I like that it features a lot of C-list villains. That's probably my favorite thing about the movie. Talia al Ghul in the movie, not very good. It feels like she's written pretty inconsistently in this universe, because from where they left off in Son of Batman to where she is in Bad Blood makes very little sense to me. Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice. Yep, it's going in the C tier. It's a very mid movie in my opinion. I think Batman is the best part of the movie, which is the main reason I put it in C tier and not lower, because Batman is obviously my favorite DC character. He's my favorite fictional character as a whole, so the fact that he is the best part of the movie for me makes up for a lot of the things that I did not enjoy. The Killing Joke. Look, I've said it multiple times now. Just throughout this year, I think the Killing Joke part of this movie is good. I do. The first half is atrocious. Look, when I first watched this movie, the first couple times, honestly, the first half turned me off so much that I didn't care about the rest of the movie at that point. But after just growing numb of that, honestly, I just decided to skip through that and watch the Killing Joke part in of itself. And it is enjoyable. People say that Conroy and Hamill, this is like some of their worst performances as Batman and Joker. Even if it is, it's still Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill. They are still terrific as those characters, so fuck you, I don't care. I'd like the Killing Joke part of this movie. Batman, Return of the Caped Crusaders, going in the A tier. This is my favorite Batman movie featuring Adam West and Burt Ward. I do prefer it over 66. It's just like an updated version of Batman 66. It's still the camp. You get a lot of Batman references throughout the year with Adam West's version of Batman. You know, you want to get nuts, let's get nuts. Evil Adam West as evil Batman is possibly the funnest thing I've ever seen in any Batman movie. It is so over the top and so ridiculous, but in the world of Batman 66, it works so extremely well, and they bring the big four back as the main villains, much like they did in the 66 movie originally. And of course they're all recasted besides Lee Merriweather as Catwoman, because they had passed on by this point, other than her. And they aren't as good as the original actors, of course, because of course they're just trying to mimic the voices of Cesar Romero, Burgess Meredith, and Frank Gorshin, but and they can't quite mimic it properly. But for what it is, they did good enough, and I just really, really enjoy this movie. It's a fun watch. It's a fun shot of nostalgia. And what more do you want? Like, we got a return to Batman 66. And we got a sequel to that too, which is just, it's awesome that we got to see Adam West as Batman 2 more times before we sadly lost him. The Lego Batman movie, I'm putting it in the B tier. It's got a lot of fun references and everything. I think it is a bit too much at times, which is why I'm not going to put it any higher. All the references are awesome. I don't love that, like, the third act is just a bunch of famous Warner Bros. Villains joining forces with the Joker and taking on Batman and the Bat Family. I would have preferred it just to be Gotham's Rogues versus the Bat Family, and it stayed more of a traditional Batman movie than going into the wider Warner Bros. Universe, but that's just a nitpick on my part. It's just something that I didn't personally love about it because it's a Batman movie, not a Warner Bros. Movie. But overall, I still do really enjoy the movie. It has a lot of heart, and it does go about it in a way that, like I said earlier, it's a bit too much for me at times. Like, it pushes that line, and it just crosses it a couple too many times for me. I had a few eye rolls in the movie, but I had a lot of laughs too. Overall, it's an enjoyable movie. Batman and Harley Quinn, possibly the most disappointing Batman movie for me because it was supposed to be the return to B-Taz, and it's Bruce Timm without a filter, and Bruce Timm, as good of a writer as he is, he needs a filter because he goes off the freaking rails without one, and this movie is proof of that. There are still some moments that are kind of funny. I just think a lot of the characters in this movie had a lot more potential than was showcased here. But I'm going to put it in the D tier with the Schumacher films because I think I would rather rewatch it than the Batman Unlimited films. Not even think I would rather rewatch it. I would definitely rather rewatch it over these. But because of that, I do think it's better, at least for me and my sensibilities. Batman vs. Two-Face, I'm putting in the C tier. A lot of what I said about Return of the Caped Crusaders does kind of apply to Batman vs. Two-Face. I just don't think it's as strong of a story, and the performances aren't as strong either. I think just more heart and probably more time went into Return of the Caped Crusaders than Batman vs. Two-Face. This still does have a lot of fun campiness that you love about Batman 66, but it's just not nearly as strong as Return of the Caped Crusaders for me. Scooby-Doo and Batman the Brave and the Bold. I love this movie. It's going in the A tier. I have a lot of nostalgia for Scooby-Doo. And just a lot of Scooby-Doo movies, like especially in recent years. This is really the only one I've watched in like recent years. This is probably the most recent Scooby-Doo movie I've seen. Before that, probably like 2011, 2012 era maybe. Maybe even a little before that, like 09, 2010. Somewhere in that range was where I kind of got my cut off of Scooby-Doo. But Scooby-Doo is still something I have a lot of nostalgia for. So that definitely benefits the movie. But Batman the Brave and the Bold is an incredible show with elite storytelling. And I think that just carries over in this movie. And just to see the show come back in the form of a movie crossing over with Scooby-Doo, like if there was any version of Batman post-70s, which I didn't include that because it was like a I think it was technically a 3-part episode, not a movie, for Batman crossing over to Scooby-Doo back in the 70s when they did that. That's why it's not on this list. But for any version of Batman after that to cross over to Scooby-Doo, Batman the Brave and the Bold does make the most sense. And there is an episode in the show where he crosses over to Scooby-Doo just for like a little portion of the show. It's kind of like a Legends of the Dark Knight type situation or a Batman Gotham Knight type situation where it was 3 separate stories told. And I believe it was the last story in the episode was a crossover with Scooby-Doo, and it was kind of just a return to the 70s, the same animation style and everything. But this was the Batman the Brave and the Bold animation style crossing over to Scooby-Doo, and the world of Batman the Brave and the Bold crossing over to Scooby-Doo. I loved that a lot of the heroes from Batman the Brave and the Bold were featured in this movie. Aquaman, Black Canary, Martian Manhunter, the Riddler. I don't want to spoil this for anyone that hasn't seen it. The Question, but yeah, I won't spoil this for anyone that hasn't seen it, because if you haven't, and especially if you're a fan of Batman the Brave and the Bold, I don't know how you haven't seen this movie if you are a fan of Brave and the Bold, but just if you're a fan of Batman in general, I highly recommend it. It's not just another kid's movie. It's got an actual plot to it. The detective element is there. The solution to the mystery actually makes perfect sense. Like, just the narrative of the story is insanely impressive. And Batman, Gotham by Gaslight, also a narrative that's pretty impressive. I'm putting it in the A tier. Another comic I haven't read, which I have not read any comics. I'm not a big reader. I'm just not a fan of reading, okay? I love movies. I love music, but when it comes to reading, that just puts me to sleep. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know what it is, but yeah. But this movie, I do know that the identity of Jack the Ripper was changed, and I think it was, I don't know if I can say changed for the better, not having read the comic, but it was a change that, was welcome, because me, the first time watching it, I did not see it coming, and it's another movie that I'd highly recommend if you haven't seen it. Batman Ninja. I'm putting this in the B tier. I think this is probably one of the most decisive Batman movies there is. I think most people either really love it or they really hate it. I'm not an anime guy. I love Batman, so of course I checked this out. I've watched a little more anime over the years than I used to. I used to not dabble in it at all, and now I'll F around with it every now and then. But like the deepest anime I've gotten when it comes to like a full series is Yu-Gi-Oh! If that tells you anything. But yeah, I'm not a huge anime guy. But for me, as a Batman story, it works, honestly. I think the Joker is great in the movie. Batman is pretty good in it, and that's all I really need. I don't really care about the other characters in the movie, if I'm being honest. Like, Batman and Joker, their dynamic is there. I think Tony Hill is terrific as the voice of the Joker. And it's Roger Craig Smith returning as Batman, the guy that voiced Batman in Arkham Origins. He returned to voice Batman in this movie for the dubbed version. I've never watched just the Japanese version of the film, but the dub version is pretty good. It's pretty entertaining. I think, although it is a different version of the Joker than you usually get, and a different version of Batman than you usually get, it still works. I think at their core, they're still Batman and the Joker. So, I mean, if you hate Batman Ninja, come at me. I'm putting it in the B tier, though. Batman vs. TMNT, I'm also putting in the B tier. I wish I could put this a little higher. And I've said multiple times, my main gripe with this movie is, I know it is something that's adapted from the comic, but just the Batman rogues as animals is just it's a bit silly to me. I can't take it seriously. I cannot. And I know that, like, a lot of this movie is not something you're supposed to take seriously, so maybe that's just me being a bit too critical on it. But overall, like, Batman's dynamic with the Turtles is fun. I like that Batman is the one that gets paired with Leonardo. It makes the most sense because their morals and their priorities are the most similar. Like, if there is any turtle that you're going to match up with Batman, it's going to be Leonardo. Raphael being with Damian, perfect sense. And Donatello being with Batgirl makes perfect sense as well. They're both the hacker of their team. And Ra's al Ghul and Shredder being the team up, like the big villain team up of the movie, also makes a lot of sense. I think that was probably the right choice, having Ra's al Ghul be the Batman villain that does team up with Shredder. And Joker just gotta be in the wild card, because that's what the Joker is, baby. And Batman Hush, I'm putting in the C tier. Oh, I'm not gonna continue talking about this movie. If you know, you know. Lego Batman Family Matters. I prefer this over the OG Lego Batman movie. Well, not the OG, but the theatrical Lego Batman movie. I'm not gonna lie. I think it's less cringe. I think I enjoy the narrative a bit more. I think it's more focused. Although I think the Lego Batman movie is very focused on Batman as a character. I just don't love the way they go about it in every moment. Narratively, I do prefer Lego Batman Family Matters. And it's a bit silly at times too, but it's just not as cringe or eye-rolling to me. I feel like the Lego Batman movie like amped it up to 100, and this just amps it up to like a 10, if that makes any sense. Soul the Dragon, it's going in the D tier. Look, I don't want to dog on this movie anymore. I feel like I've dogged on it enough. I don't even think it's that bad. It's just not my thing. Batman The Long Halloween, I'm putting it in the A tier. I love this movie. I think part 1 is stronger than part 2. And I think part 1 is a bit slower paced too. It's a bit of quieter film than part 2 is. Part 2 is much more fast paced. You get more of the rogues. I feel like part 1 is just the more focused story. And also, like, the one thing I hate about this two-parter is the fact that Batman lets Gilda walk. It makes no sense to me. It's the most uncharacteristic thing Batman does in the film. And that happens at the end of part 2. So it's part of the reason I think part 1 is better. It's part of the reason that, you know, Batman The Long Halloween isn't up here in the S tier. Is because I absolutely love Jensen Ackles as Batman. I think it's phenomenal casting. And up until that point, Batman felt so Batman. He felt so in character. And then that happens, and I'm like, okay, what is this? But overall, Batman The Long Halloween is a banger, and I loved it. Narratively, it's pretty focused, like a lot of these I talked about. I like that the Joker is a big feature of the part 1, and then you get Two-Face in part 2, so yeah, I'd say Joker is the main villain of part 1, and Two-Face is the main villain of part 2, although the main villain of the entire story is Holiday, and Holiday is what ties all these plot threads together. Batman growing into his own as a detective, him not really expecting to have to be this much of a detective beforehand is very interesting to me, and to see that character growth with Batman is something I really do appreciate. The Batman, it's going in the S tier, although aesthetically, I do not think this is the best Batman movie. I do like the Batsuit, I do like the way Gotham looks, but as far as the villains go, I like the Penguin. You know, the Penguin looks enough like the Penguin. I like that we're finally getting that mobster Penguin. I think Colin Farrell gives a fantastic performance. It's probably my favorite performance in the entire movie. Every time he's on screen, he is a scene stealer. I hate the aesthetic of the Riddler. Catwoman wasn't, like, not nearly as bad as the Riddler, but I really do just want to see these villains grow into their more traditional look, which I think we will get, but it's just kind of annoying. It is kind of annoying that the Batman is like the perfect setup to the perfect Batman movie, and Matt Reeves just couldn't come out of the gate with the perfect Batman movie. You know, why can't these villains just be who they are out the gate? Why do they gotta evolve into them? At least from an aesthetical standpoint, because the Riddler looks so stupid in this movie. He does. He's my least favorite version of the Riddler. Appearance-wise, I think Paul Dano gives a great performance. The Batmobile chase is pretty entertaining. Robert Pattinson as Batman did really great. I want to see more of his Bruce Wayne in the future. But as a whole, it's a 3-hour movie that does not feel like 3 hours. It goes by pretty fast, and there aren't really many moments that drag in the movie, which is an impressive feat. And Batman the Doom That Came to Gotham is going in the C tier. It was honestly better than I was expecting. It is still just a little too weird for me, which I expected it to be too weird for me, but like, I was kind of surprised I preferred it over Soul of the Dragon, because I was expecting to put them pretty on level with each other, but I'd much rather rewatch Doom That Came to Gotham over Soul of the Dragon, if I'm being completely honest with you. It's it's an odd story, but it is fun in a lot of ways, and it just being a one-off, it kind of makes up for a lot of things that happen that otherwise I'd probably be upset with, like the death of certain characters. I won't spoil it since it just came out this year, but yeah, it's I think if the like demons and ghouls, the creatures and monsters thing with Batman is more up your alley, you'll probably love this movie. It's not really my thing with Batman. Like, if it's in a Justice League story, I'm a bit more there for it, but when it just comes to the world of Batman, I just am not that intrigued by like monsters and creatures taking over Gotham. I rearranged the list to more accurately depict my actual ranking of every Batman movie here, The Dark Knight being the best, and honestly, the order of the Batman Unlimited doesn't matter. They're just my least favorites. But other than that, Batman and Harley Quinn is probably my least favorite, maybe just because of how disappointing it is. But yeah, I put it under the Schumacher films, honestly. And maybe that's an insult, I don't know. But honestly, the Schumacher films, they're kind of fun at times. You know, they're not good films, but they aren't entirely unwatchable. I don't think, at least. But, you know, I just kind of like that extra level of just absolute insanity that Schumacher turned Batman up to. They are not good Batman films, but just as movies in general, it's just insane that they got made. You know what I mean? But yeah, you know, a lot of these rankings, they can change with a rewatch. They can change from day to day. But as of now, this is probably how I'd rank all these movies. Just how I'm feeling tonight. Or how I'm feeling today. Batman Day. But that is my ranking of every Batman movie ever since 1966. Let me know what you think about it down in the comments below. Let me know, you know, what your top 10 Batman movies ever are. Live action and animated both. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.